Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, just before I start, from sitting down there, if I could just repeat something that Mr. Larkin just mentioned a moment ago, it would be really great if you could just keep the noise down a little while people are speaking, as a mark of respect to those who are speaking, please. And it's purely a coincidence that I ask that as I'm about to speak. So, I'm very happy to be with you tonight to celebrate the bilateral relationship between Australia and Lebanon and the first anniversary of the Australia-Lebanon Chamber of Commerce and Industry. The future of the Australia-Lebanon relationship has never been brighter. In 2012, we saw great strides in political will to build a stronger and closer relationship. We witnessed the first ever visit to Australia by a sitting Lebanese head of state. President Michel Sleiman's historic visit was followed by no less than 5 official visits from Australia to Lebanon, including the Governor of Victoria, the Premier of New South Wales, and the Ministers of Transport and Infrastructure and of Immigration and Citizenship. And of course, the ALCCI trade mission to Lebanon in October added a significant boost to the bilateral relationship. It's been a long time since we've seen such a busy period of interaction between our political leaders. Equally important, the business community increasingly understands that Lebanon can be a great place for Australians to do business and vice versa. Our bilateral relationship is based on hard-working Lebanese migrants who came to Australia first in the mid-1800s, selling their wares across rural Australia, and who were followed by waves of others who came to build a new life and who have contributed so positively to Australia's society and culture. Yet our relationship is also based on other important elements, such as the more than 18,000 Australian troops who entered Lebanon from Palestine in 1941 to fight against the Vichy French, and whose sacrifices contributed significantly to Lebanon's independence just a couple of years later, the 70th anniversary of which will be celebrated in November this year. One of the more enjoyable parts of my job is that I get to meet interesting people throughout the country, and I recently had the privilege of meeting a number of elderly Lebanese who remember our troops. I met a lady in Saida whose family used to invite Australian soldiers into their home, usually on Sundays, when the Australian soldiers played the piano and sang songs. She gave me many treasured mementos which were given to the family by the Australian soldiers before they left, like songbooks, a water bottle, and an Australian Army slouch hat. Those items will soon make their way to the Australian War Memorial in Canberra. And last month, I met a group of men in the Bakar who told me of their fond memories of the Australians, including some of the antics they got up to, which I won't go into here tonight. Australia provides critically important funding for the clearance of cluster munitions in southern Lebanon. Earlier this month, I visited 2 heavily contaminated sites in Al-Tiri and Arnoun. I visited Bint Jbeil, and from Beaufort Castle, Khalat Shaif, I saw staggeringly beautiful countryside that should soon be returned to the villagers to use again for crops, allowing them to support their families and local economies. In January this year, I went to Shama, close to the southern border, to unveil a plaque and to commemorate the death there 25 years ago of Captain Peter McCarthy, an Australian peacekeeper with the United Nations, who lost his life when a landmine exploded under his vehicle. Like the 320 Australian soldiers who died in Lebanon during World War II, Captain McCarthy was there to protect Lebanon. A few words about bilateral trade and the ALCCI. I have watched the ALCCI grow under the direction of your President and Chairman, my friend Fadi Zouki, into the dynamic and progressive chamber that it is today. I congratulate you on a very successful first year. To the members of the ALCCI, and particularly those of you who participated in the trade mission to Lebanon last year, let me say you made a huge impact. Your visit to Lebanon was noticed by the highest officials in the land. You attracted a lot of positive attention. You were received and hosted by the President himself, as well as by the Prime Minister and Ministers of Agriculture, Foreign Affairs, Tourism, Information and Industry. And you created a very powerful relationship with the influential Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture of Beirut and Mount Lebanon. And as further recognition of the importance that Lebanon places on the bilateral relationship and the work of the ALCCI, as you know, President Sleiman asked the Minister for Information, His Excellency Mr. Walid Daouk, to represent him here in Melbourne tonight. So all of that is great news. But you should know that you've also created some high expectations, and I encourage you to maintain the momentum and determination to succeed in creating a stronger relationship between Australia and Lebanon. I'm delighted that Joe Qatar, President of the Australian Lebanese Chamber of Commerce in Sydney, is here tonight with us, as he was last year. I've known Joe for many years now. Joe tells me that the ALCCI is planning a trade delegation to Lebanon later this year. We look forward to working with you, Joe, to ensure the success of your mission. But if I could make one sincere recommendation to the ALCCI here in Melbourne and to the ALCC in Sydney, it would be to encourage the two chambers to work more closely together to achieve your shared goals. After all, you have the same aims, and you are all working as ambassadors for Australia. By working more closely together, you will also avoid creating confusion amongst your target audience and clients in Lebanon. The Australian Lebanese Chamber of Commerce based in Sydney and the Australia-Lebanon Chamber of Commerce and Industry based in Melbourne, I have to say it confuses me to some degree. So I urge both chambers to continue the good work you do as distinct entities, but also to identify areas where you can pool your expertise and resources to the benefit not only of the two chambers, but also of Australia. I want briefly to mention some exciting areas that I believe offer good opportunities for Australia and Lebanon to work together. I'm thinking particularly of health, education, tourism and cultural exchanges, to mention just a few. In March last year, a team of Australian health professionals established the Australian Lebanese Medical Association. Yeah, it's good. The president of the association, Dr. Wali Akbar, a cardiologist based here in Melbourne, is here tonight. I applaud the work the association is doing and look forward to you visiting Lebanon when you start to create links with your counterparts there. We're also assisting where we can a group of doctors in Lebanon who will establish a bone marrow donor registry. You may recall the brave efforts last year of a young Australian Lebanese woman who's from Victoria, suffering from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, who was not able to find a donor match in Australia. I'm very pleased to know that a donor was found in Europe and that she is now doing very, very well. Both countries are looking to expand cooperation in the education sector. Last year, the University of Sydney inaugurated a $205,000 engineering PhD scholarship to be awarded exclusively to a Lebanese national. That is not a dual national, a Lebanese national. In 2012, a number of professors from the University of Sydney and Monash University visited Lebanon, one of who, Hala Zraikat, will take up a 3-month sabbatical at the American University in Beirut from the end of this month. The Governor of Victoria, Alex Chernoff, dedicated much of his trip to Lebanon last year to the possibility of expanding education links. We need to build on these links to create new and lasting ties, including staff and student exchanges and partnerships. I want to plant an idea in your minds. It is to give serious thought to our working together, including with a range of sponsors, to undertake a promotion in Lebanon that would make a big splash and attract a lot of attention and business interest. Something like an Australia Week in Lebanon, an event that would include a range of events, a gala dinner to showcase Australian produce, a conference dedicated to the health sector, an education forum, a tourism workshop, cultural events and trade displays and seminars, all in 1 week to maximise our efforts to put Australia on the map in Lebanon as a serious business partner. We need to capitalise on the hard work that you have all done. Let's do it together and take Australia to Lebanon. Thank you.